The wedding wasn't even over and you were already cheating.
Rain hammered the windshield as I pulled up to the curb outside Meridian Club. 3 women stumbled out, heels clicking against wet pavement, giggling like schoolgirls despite being in their 30s. They didn't recognize me through the privacy glass. Just another faceless driver in a black town car. God, I can't believe Serena's actually marrying him, the blonde one said as she slid into the back seat. Jessica Thorne, I knew from the booking. Old money, new attitude. Tell me about it, said the brunette Roxy Banks. A driver, like, what does he even make? $250,000? The third one, Ashley Kim, pulled the door shut. My gardener probably makes more. I adjusted the rearview mirror, catching their reflection in the dim cabin lighting. My cap sat low, mask covering half my face. Standard post-pandemic protocol that worked in my favor tonight. The recording notice glowed softly on the door panel, same as always. Everyone sees it, nobody reads it. Where to, ladies? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. The Brass Monkey on 5th, Jessica said, already back to their conversation. I pulled into traffic, windshield wipers working overtime. The GPS showed 2 routes to 5th Street. I chose neither. Remember when she dated Troy Vale? Roxy was saying now that was a man with presence. Investment banking, that penthouse overlooking the river. Troy was gorgeous. Ashley added and loaded, what happened there? She said he was emotionally unavailable. Jessica made air quotes. Translation, he wouldn't commit to her timeline. So she bounced to the help. They erupted in laughter. I kept my expression blank, hands steady on the wheel. Don't be mean, Ashley said, but she was still smiling. Nate seems nice. Nice doesn't pay for designer handbags, Roxy shot back, or that apartment she loves so much. Girls living a lie. I took the exit toward River District instead of continuing downtown. The familiar towers of Troy's complex came into view, although Jessica lowered her voice. You didn't hear this from me, but the car went quiet except for the rain. What? Roxy leaned forward. She might not be completely over Troy. Sarah told me she still texts with him sometimes. No way. And get this. Jessica glanced around like someone might be listening. Don't tell Serena, but he still has her key. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I pulled into the circular drive of Troy's building. Driver. Ashley's voice carried a note of confusion. This isn't 5th Street. I turned in my seat, letting them see my face for the first time. Recognition dawned in Jessica's eyes first. Hello, ladies, I said calmly. Change of plans. I spent the next morning in my small home office editing cabin audio on my laptop. The recording system was completely legal. Commercial liability protection with proper notice posted. Every client saw the warning. Most ignored it like Jessica and her friends had. The 2-minute clip played back crystal clear. Their voices, their words, their casual cruelty. But, more importantly, don't tell Serena, but he still has her key. I saved the file to a USB drive and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Serena was getting ready for work when I found her in the bedroom, standing at her vanity mirror, applying lipstick. Designer suit, perfect hair, the image of success. She'd built her PR company from nothing, and I respected that. Used to, anyway. How was last night? She asked, not looking at me. Fine. Standard pickup. I opened her makeup drawer, slid the USB underneath her foundation compact, and closed it again. She didn't notice. I've got client dinners all week, she said, checking her phone. Can you handle grocery shopping? Sure. She kissed my cheek. Routine mechanical, and headed for the door. Her heels clicked down the hallway, same rhythm as her friends had on the wet pavement. That evening, I was changing into my work clothes when I heard her scream from the bedroom. Nate, get in here now! found her sitting on the bed, laptop open, USB drive in her hand. Her face was pale, eyes wild. What the heck is this? Audio from last night's ride. You recorded them? It's posted on the door. Serena, standard procedure. She stood up, shaking. They're my friends. Are they? She played the file again, and I watched her flinch at every word. The part about Troy's key hit hardest. This is illegal, she said finally. Check with your lawyer. Commercial vehicle posted notice. Liability protection completely above board. You can't use this. I adjusted my cap, grabbed my keys. I haven't used it yet. What's that supposed to mean? I paused at the bedroom door. Next time you talk about me, check who's listening. Jace Feller met me at the diner on Route 9, same booth we'd claimed in high school 20 years ago. He ran a legitimate telematics business now. GPS tracking, fleet management, route optimization for corporate clients. You look like heck, he said, sliding into the worn vinyl seat. Thanks. I need a favor. When don't you? I pulled out my phone, showed him a list of names. I need to know their patterns, where they go, when they go, who they ride with. Jace raised an eyebrow. These Serena's friends, some of them. And you want this information? Why? Knowledge is power. He looked at the list again. This isn't illegal, is it? Because my business, nothing illegal, just public information. Social media posts, ride bookings, stuff people volunteer when they schedule through the apps. Jace nodded slowly. I can pull location tags from public posts, cross-reference with rideshare patterns. But Nate, what? Be careful, whatever you're planning. 3 days later, he texted me a detailed report. Jessica Thorne, regular Thursday nights at Meridian Club, always booked rides home. Roxy Banks, yoga Tuesdays, client lunches downtown, frequent trips to Troy's neighborhood. Ashley Kim, predictable as clockwork, same routes, same times. But the interesting entry was at the bottom. Ellie Shore, bridesmaid from Serena's best friend's wedding 2 years back, booked a ride with my company for tonight. I was waiting in the pickup lane when she came out of the office building. Tall, athletic, nervous energy. She got in the back seat and immediately went silent when she saw my reflection in the mirror. You're Nate, she said quietly. And you're Ellie. Her hands fidgeted with her purse strap. Where are we going? I checked the app. Your apartment on Elm Street, right? She nodded, still watching me in the mirror. Relax, I said. I'm just doing my job. But she didn't relax. She knew something. Ellie Shore didn't say another word during the ride to her apartment, but 3 days later, she booked another trip. This time, she was drunk. Picked me up at Rosewood Bar. Her voice slurred through the phone. I can't drive. I found her leaning against the brick wall outside, mascara smudged, dress wrinkled. She climbed into the back seat and immediately started crying. I'm a terrible person, she said. Why is that? Because I know things and I never told anyone. I adjusted the mirror to see her better. What kind of things? She fumbled with her phone, scrolling through photos. From the wedding, Rachel's wedding 2 years ago. I remembered it. Serena had been a bridesmaid. I'd watched from the back during the ceremony, then spent the reception making conversation with other plus ones. I was taking pictures all night, Ellie continued. Candid shots, for the bride. She held up her phone, showing me a photo timestamp. 11:47 p.m. Behind the reception tent, partially hidden by white fabric and string lights, 2 figures were kissing. The woman was definitely Serena. I'd recognize that red dress anywhere. The man wasn't me. That's Troy Vale, Ellie whispered. Rachel's cousin brought him as a date. I pulled over, put the car in park. Can I see that? She handed me the phone with shaking fingers. The image was clear, well lit, unmistakably them. There were 3 more photos in the sequence, all time-stamped within a minute of each other. Rachel begged me to delete them, Ellie said it would ruin the wedding memories. So I told everyone I did. But you didn't. I couldn't. What if someday? She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What if someday someone needed to know the truth? I handed her phone back. What do you want to do about it? She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the photos. Then she opened her AirDrop settings. I want to do the right thing, she said, and sent all 4 images to my phone. I drove her home in silence. As she got out, she turned back to me. I'm sorry, Nate. I should have told you sooner. You told me when it mattered. That night, I created a second USB drive. No audio this time, just 4 photos in their timestamps. Serena's company was hosting a client mixer on the rooftop of the Meridian Tower, the same building where her friends had mocked me a week earlier. Ironic how things circle back. I wasn't invited as her husband. I was hired as a contractor, part of the VIP shuttle service for high-end guests. Black car, professional distance, invisible again. The guest list was interesting. I'd studied it for 3 days, cross-referencing names with Jace's data. Most of Serena's social circle would be there, plus potential clients, local business owners, and a few surprise additions. Troy Vale was one of them. I picked him up at his penthouse at 7 sharp. He slid into the back seat wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. Meridian Tower, he said without looking up from his phone. Yes, sir. I'd driven him before, though he'd never remembered me. Rich guys like Troy see drivers as furniture, present but irrelevant. Tonight, that worked perfectly. The ride took 12 minutes through downtown traffic. Troy spent it making calls about some acquisition deal, speaking loud enough that I caught every detail. When we pulled up to the tower, I got out to open his door. Have a good evening, Mr. Vale. He grunted something that might have been thanks and disappeared into the building. I parked in the service area and took the freight elevator to the rooftop. The party was already in full swing. String quartet, open bar, city lights twinkling below. Serena stood near the center holding court in a black cocktail dress, her laugh carrying over the music. She was introducing the company's new digital strategy when Troy walked in. The timing was perfect. Her words faltered mid-sentence as she spotted him across the crowd. A few heads turned following her gaze. The whispers started immediately. I stayed by the service bar, invisible in my driver's uniform, watching the social dynamics unfold. Jessica Thorne appeared at Troy's elbow within minutes. Roxy Banks wasn't far behind. Ashley Kim hung back, looking uncomfortable. The party photographer circulated through the crowd, capturing candid moments for Serena's marketing materials. I made sure to stay out of frame, but I watched him work. Serena finished her presentation to scattered applause, then immediately headed for the ladies' room. I followed at a distance, timing my approach perfectly. She came out of the bathroom looking composed, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Hello, Serena. She spun around, eyes wide. What are you doing here? Working same as you. You brought him here, didn't you? Troy, he booked a ride. I provided service. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. You're trying to humiliate me. I'm trying to make a living. She stepped closer, fury radiating from her like heat. I know what you're doing, Nate. This whole thing, the recording, following my friends around. Ma'am, is everything all right? We both turned. The photographer stood 10 feet away, camera raised, having caught our intense face-off in the frame. Serena's public smile snapped back into place. Everything's perfect. Just saying hello to my husband. The photographer lowered his camera, looking confused but satisfied. Another candid moment for the portfolio. Serena brushed past me toward the elevator, her shoulder checking mine as she passed. "This isn't over," she whispered. The email arrived in Serena's work inbox at 9:15 Monday morning. I know because I was watching the building from across the street when she got to the office. The sender was listed as concerned friend. The subject line read, "Audio you should hear." Attached was the 2-minute clip of Jessica, Roxy, and Ashley mocking me, and the bombshell about Troy's key. By 9:45, Serena's assistant was fielding calls. By 10:30, 3 different people had come to see her, all looking agitated. By noon, Jessica Thorne was in the lobby, her face red with anger. I watched from the coffee shop across the street as the confrontation spilled onto the sidewalk. Serena and Jessica, voices raised, gesturing wildly. Other pedestrians gave them a wide berth. Jessica stormed off. Serena stood alone on the sidewalk for several minutes, staring at her phone. That afternoon, my windshield wiper held a surprise. A valet parking stub tucked under the rubber blade. The embossed logo belonged to Troy's building. Someone had written his unit number on the back in blue ink. I studied the handwriting. Feminine, educated, not Serena's. Interesting. Troy Vale ate dinner at Porterhouse every Tuesday night. Same table, same routine. Jace had pulled the pattern from social media posts and credit card data available through public records. I timed it perfectly. Troy's reservation was at 8 o'clock. Serena had a work event across town that ended at 9:30. With downtown traffic, she'd arrive at Porterhouse around 10 o'clock. I parked across the street with a clear view of the restaurant entrance. Troy emerged at 9:52, exactly when I expected. He handed his ticket to the valet and checked his phone while he waited. Serena's Audi pulled up at 9:57. She stepped out wearing the same black dress from the rooftop party, looking every inch the successful businesswoman. The valet took her keys with a smile. She was clearly a regular too. Troy spotted her immediately. His body language changed, shoulders straightening, that predatory smile spreading across his face. They met on the sidewalk, conversation animated, familiar. An observer might think it was a chance encounter. The blogger was positioned perfectly. Riley Matthews ran a local society website, always hunting for gossip about Denver's elite. She'd been photographing the restaurant's clientele when Serena and Troy appeared in the same frame. Flash click, flash again. I stayed in my car, engine off, invisible. Let the pictures tell the story. Let people draw their own conclusions. My phone buzzed with a text from Jace. Strategy session tonight. Roxy's place. Open bar. Perfect timing. Loose lips, flowing wine, and Serena's inner circle gathering to plan damage control. Roxy Banks lived in a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. The building's parking garage was private, gated with assigned spots for residents and guest spaces for visitors. I'd driven for Roxy twice before. She liked my smooth driving style. Always requested me specifically through the app. Tonight was no different. She'd booked a pickup from a client dinner return trip to her building. "Take the scenic route," she said as we pulled away from the restaurant. "I need to decompress. Rough night." You could say that. Friend drama. I took the long way through downtown, letting her vent about unnamed people and their poor choices and men. When we reached her building, I helped carry her shopping bags from the trunk. "Thanks, Nate. You're a lifesaver." I parked in the guest area and killed the engine. The building's design flaw worked in my favor. Sound carried from the third-floor balconies down into the parking garage, especially on quiet nights like this. I rolled down my window and waited. At 10:47, voices drifted down from Roxy's apartment. Female laughter, wine glasses clinking, the sound of a sliding door opening. "God, I needed this," Serena's voice slightly slurred. Wime fixes everything, Roxy replied.
Well,
Almost everything. More laughter, then quieter conversation I couldn't make out. I checked my watch. A normal ride would have ended by now, but I had a legitimate pickup scheduled in 20 minutes across town. Nothing suspicious about waiting. Should I just call him? Serena again, louder now. Call who? Ashley Kim's voice joined the conversation. Troy, maybe I should just meet with him. Close the loop properly. Serena, no, that was Jessica. After that, reporter saw you two together.
It wasn't planned. He just happened to be there, right?
And I just happened to find that recording in my email. Roxy's voice. Look, if you still have feelings, I don't. I don't think I do. It's complicated. Then uncomplicated. Meet with him. Get closure, but do it right. Somewhere private. No cameras. I started the engine and pulled out of the garage. I'd heard enough. My phone buzzed with a text as I reached street level. Unknown number. Don't forget your keys. I smiled and sent it to Serena. Troy was waiting for me in the parking garage stairwell. I'd expected this. The valet stub under my windshield had been an invitation after all. Someone wanted us to meet. You think you're clever, he said, blocking my path to the elevators. I think I'm employed. Cut the crap, Nate. I know what you're doing. The stairwell was narrow concrete walls on both sides. Troy had positioned himself on the landing above me, using height advantage. Classic intimidation tactic. And what am I doing? Playing games with my life, with Serena's life. I climbed 2 steps, closing the distance between us. Your life? You mean the life where you keep my wife's apartment key? His jaw tightened. That's none of your business. Everything about my wife is my business. Troy stepped down, bringing us to the same level, close enough to smell his cologne, see the veins in his neck. She came to me, after you two got married. Said she'd made a mistake. Is that what she said? She begged me to take her back. I laughed. You're pathetic. That's when he swung. The punch came fast but telegraphed. Rich boy who'd never been in a real fight. I caught his wrist twisted, drove my elbow into his solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping. My turn, I said. I grabbed his shoulders and drove my knee up into his ribs. He went down hard, back, hitting the concrete wall. His phone clattered across the floor. Stay down, Troy. He tried to get up. I put my foot on his chest, pressed him back against the wall. The key, I said. What? Give me Serena's key. He fumbled in his jacket pocket, pulled out a silver house key on a leather fob. I recognized it. I'd given it to her on our first anniversary. I took the key and picked up his phone. The screen was cracked but functional. I scrolled through his contacts until I found Serena's number. Deleted it, then dropped the phone into the storm drain at the bottom of the stairwell. Next time you want to play games, I said, remember who you're playing with. I left him sitting on the concrete, breathing hard, ego bruised worse than his ribs. That night, I sent Serena a photo of the stairwell and a simple message. Careful, slippery route. Ellie Shore called me at midnight 3 days later. I can't do this anymore, she said. Her voice was steady, resolved. I'm done covering for her. What happened? She called me tonight, wanted me to say I never saw anything at the wedding, that the photos were fake, manipulated. I sat up in bed, and I told her the truth, that I've been carrying this guilt for 2 years, that it was eating me alive, that maybe if she'd been honest from the beginning. What did she say? Ellie laughed bitterly, that I was jealous, that I'd always been jealous of her success, her relationships, her life, but I was trying to sabotage her marriage out of spite. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was liberating. For the first time in 2 years, I told someone exactly what I saw and when I saw it. No more secrets. The next morning, I called Thomas Bradley, the family attorney who'd handled my father's estate. Conservative, thorough, expensive. I need to discuss separation options.
I told him, I see grounds, marital waste, emotional abandonment, possible adultery, evidence, photographs, witness testimony, documentation of gifts, and time spent on an extramarital relationship. Recent ongoing for at least 2 years. Bradley was quiet for a moment. This is Colorado, Nate. No-fault divorce. We don't need to prove wrongdoing for dissolution. I know, but wrongdoing affects asset distribution, especially if there's been significant marital waste. Come in tomorrow. Bring everything you have. That afternoon, Serena's big presentation imploded. The client pitch she'd been preparing for weeks went sideways when her assistant accidentally sent the wrong draft to the decision-makers. The document was full of track changes and comments, including several disparaging remarks about the client's outdated marketing approach and suburban aesthetic. The client walked, a 6-figure contract gone. Serena blamed me publicly, posting on social media about sabotage from within and people who smile while they stab you in the back. Her followers ate it up, offering sympathy and outrage in equal measure. But her inner circle knew better. Jessica, Roxy, Ashley. They'd all heard the recording of their own voices. They knew exactly who held the knife. I spent Saturday morning cleaning out our apartment. 2 years of marriage, 7 years together before that, reduced to boxes and donation bags. The apartment lease was in my name. I'd been the guarantor when Serena's credit was still recovering from a business loan default. The furniture was mostly mine too, purchased over time as we'd built our life together. I called Goodwill to schedule a pickup. Everything except the essentials, clothes, electronics, a few personal items. The tax deduction would be substantial. Serena was at a weekend retreat with clients, some team-building exercise in the mountains. She wouldn't be back until Sunday evening. By sunset, the apartment was empty, except for one item. A USB drive sitting on the hardwood floor where our bed used to be. The wedding photos. All 4 of them. Time-stamped and undeniable. I left my key on the kitchen counter and drove to the extended stay hotel I'd booked across town. Clean, anonymous, temporary. My phone rang at 8:23 p.m. What have you done? Serena's voice was raw with tears. Moved out. You can't just... The apartment. Check the lease. My name, my signature, my responsibility. Where am I supposed to live? That's not my problem anymore. Nate, please, we can work this out. Whatever you think happened, I know what happened. The question is whether you're finally ready to be honest about it. Silence. Then the USB drive. Where did you get those pictures? Does it matter? They're fake, photoshopped. No, they're not. How can you be sure? Because I trust my source more than I trust you. She hung up. The storm hit Denver like a sledgehammer, turning the interstate into a hydroplaning nightmare. I was returning Serena's laptop bag. She'd left it in my car months ago, and I'd found it while packing. Professional courtesy, nothing more. I pulled up to her new apartment building, a generic complex in the suburbs where she'd moved after losing our place. The bag was waterproof, expensive leather, the kind of thing she bought to project success. I left it by her door with a typed letter. Formal separation agreement, asset division, no contest terms. Clean, legal, final. That's when I saw the headlights in my mirror. Troy's BMW, black as the night, pulling out of the visitor parking section. He'd been waiting,
I got back in my car and pulled onto the main road. He followed. The surface streets were manageable, but when I merged onto I-25, the game changed. Rain turned asphalt into glass. Visibility dropped to maybe 50 yards. Troy accelerated, pulling alongside me in the left lane. He had his window down despite the downpour, yelling something I couldn't hear over the storm. I tapped my brakes. He swerved, overcorrected, and his rear wheels lost traction. The BMW spun sideways, tires screaming on wet pavement. Training kicked in. 5 years of defensive driving courses, hazardous condition protocols, emergency response procedures. I steered into the skid zone, giving him space to recover. He didn't. The BMW completed a full rotation before sliding backward into the guardrail with a metal-on-metal shriek that cut through the rain. Steam rose from his crumpled hood. I pulled over on the shoulder, hazards flashing, and jogged back through the storm. Troy was conscious but dazed, airbag deflated across his lap. "Can you move?" I asked. He nodded, fumbling with his seatbelt. "Good. Then listen carefully. This ends now. No more following me. No more games. No more contact with my wife. Are we clear?" He stared at me through the rain, water streaming down both our faces. "Are we clear?" I repeated. "Yeah," he whispered. "We're clear." I helped him out of the car and made sure he could stand on his own. His BMW was totaled, but he'd live. Sometimes that's the best you can hope for. I drove home through the storm, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the rain. In my rearview mirror, Troy's headlights faded into the darkness. The separation papers were on my passenger seat, signed and notarized. Tomorrow I'd file them with the court. Tonight, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. But the real confrontation was still coming. Serena booked a ride with me 3 weeks later. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She needed professional transportation to our final meeting, and I was the best driver she knew. I picked her up at her office building. She slid into the back seat wearing a navy suit that had seen better days. Her usual confidence replaced by something harder to define. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere we can talk." The Riverside lot was empty except for a few delivery trucks and the distant sound of highway traffic. I parked facing the water, city lights reflecting on the dark surface. "Here's good," I said. I reached for the car's entertainment system and queued up the audio files I'd prepared. Not one recording, but a sequence, a timeline. Serena's friends mocking me, discussing my income, laughing about her downgrade from Troy. Then the balcony conversation from Roxy's apartment. Serena wondering if she should meet with Troy to close loops. Finally, the wedding photos accompanied by Ellie's recorded testimony about what she'd witnessed and why she'd stayed silent. I let it play without commentary. Serena sat in the back seat, watching my reflection in the rearview mirror, her face cycling through recognition, anger, and something that might have been shame. When the audio ended, the car was silent except for the rain starting to tap against the roof. "Satisfied?" she asked, getting there. "What do you want, Nate? An apology? Begging? Tears?" "I want the truth," she laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Which truth? That I missed Troy? That I was unhappy? That I made mistakes?" "All of it." "Fine. Yes, I missed him. Yes, I wondered what would have happened if I'd made different choices. And yes, I kept his key because some part of me wasn't ready to let go." I turned in my seat to face her directly. "And the wedding?" Her composure cracked slightly. "That was complicated. Not complicated. Simple. You kissed your ex-boyfriend at your best friend's wedding while I was sitting 50 feet away. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything." Headlights swept across the lot. A tow truck pulled in, dragging something behind it. As it got closer, I recognized the vehicle on the flatbed. Troy's BMW still crumpled from our highway encounter. Serena saw it too. Her face went pale. "What is this?" The tow truck driver got out, clipboard in hand. Jace Feller emerged from the passenger side, giving me a subtle nod. He'd arranged this through his network. A legitimate repo for Troy's unpaid parking tickets. Perfectly legal, perfectly timed. "Just returning property to its rightful owner," I said. The BMW was lowered onto the pavement with a mechanical whine. The driver climbed down from Troy's damaged car, looking around the empty lot with confusion. "This the right address?" he called out. "Close enough," I replied. That's when Troy himself appeared, jogging across the lot from a taxi that had just dropped him off. He stopped short when he saw Serena in my back seat. "What the heck is this?" he demanded. "A conversation," I said calmly. He approached the car, anger radiating from every step. "Serena, get out of there." She didn't move. "Serena, she's exactly where she needs to be," I said, in the passenger seat. Troy reached for the car door handle. I was already moving. I stepped out into the rain, positioning myself between him and the car. The wet pavement reflected the streetlights, making everything look like an oil painting. "Back off," I said quietly. "This is insane, Nate. Whatever point you're trying to make, the point is already made." He looked past me at Serena, still sitting in the back seat. "Are you going to let him do this to us?" "There is no us," she said through the open window. "Bull crap. Tell him about last week. Tell him about the hotel." My blood turned to ice. "What hotel?" Serena closed her eyes. "Troy, don't. The Marriott downtown. Room 1247. Tell him how you came to me. How you said you'd made a mistake marrying him." I looked back at Serena. Her silence was answer enough. Troy smiled, sensing victory. "Tell him how you hit him before he could finish the sentence. Not a wild swing, not an emotional outburst. A precise right cross that connected with his jaw and sent him staggering backward toward the water. He caught his balance at the edge, rain streaming down his face, and came back swinging. This time I was ready. I caught his arm, used his momentum against him, and threw him to the wet pavement. He rolled, came up spitting mud and river water. "Stay down," I warned. He didn't listen. He charged, head down like a linebacker. I sidestepped and drove my knee into his ribs as he passed. He went down hard, gasping. The fight went out of him. Then he lay on the concrete, breathing heavily, staring up at the night sky. "I loved her first," he whispered. "No," I said. "You had her first. There's a difference." I reached down and grabbed his jacket, hauled him to his feet. For a moment, I considered letting him fall backward into the river. It would be easy. An accident, rain, slippery surfaces, poor visibility. Instead, I dragged him to the curb and sat him down next to his ruined car. "It's over," I told him. "All of it." Sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder. Not for us. A highway accident from the storm, emergency vehicles racing past on the interstate above. But the sound was a reminder that time was running short. I walked back to the car, leaving Troy sitting in the rain beside his destroyed BMW. Serena was still in the back seat, staring at her hands. "The hotel," I said through the open door. "How long?" "It doesn't matter now. It matters to me." She looked up, tears mixing with raindrops on her face. "Stay. Maybe 4. It started after you. After the recording. So, this is my fault?" "No. It's mine. All of it." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I was angry, confused. I needed someone who understood me. "And Troy understood you?" He told me what I wanted to hear. I got back in the driver's seat, started the engine. The heater kicked in, fighting against the dampness that had seeped into everything. "What happens now?" Serena asked. "Now you decide what kind of person you want to be." In the rearview mirror, I watched Troy struggle to his feet, phone pressed to his ear, probably calling for a ride. The tow truck was already pulling away. "Job complete." "Take me home," Serena said quietly. "Which home?" She was quiet for a long moment. "The new apartment. The one you'll never see." I put the car in gear and drove through the rain, windshield wipers keeping steady time like a metronome, counting down the final moments of our marriage. We pulled up to Serena's apartment complex. As the storm began to ease, the rain had softened to a drizzle, streetlights creating halos in the mist. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the separation agreement, signed, notarized, legally binding. 7 pages that reduced 9 years together to asset divisions and custody arrangements for items we'd never shared. "This covers everything," I said, handing it to her. "The apartment lease termination, furniture distribution, joint account closures." She scanned the pages with the practiced eye of someone who'd reviewed countless contracts in her PR career. "You keeping the house?" She meant the small rental property I'd inherited from my grandfather, the one we'd never lived in together. It was never marital property, and the car, business asset, fleet vehicle. She nodded, understanding the legal distinctions, even as they stripped away the life we'd built. The savings account split proportional to contributions. Your business earnings stay yours. My driving income stays mine. Marital waste. I met her eyes in the rearview mirror. "Documented hotel receipts, restaurant charges, gifts purchased with joint funds for someone outside the marriage." Her face hardened. "You've been tracking me. I've been protecting myself." She signed each page with sharp, angry strokes, then handed the papers back to me. "Anything else?" she asked. I reached into my other jacket pocket and pulled out a USB drive. Different from the others, older, more worn. I placed it in her palm. "That's everything," I said. "Audio recordings, photographs, witness statements, financial records. Every piece of evidence I collected over the past 6 months." She stared at the small device. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because I don't need it anymore." "What's to stop me from destroying it?" "Nothing. It's yours now. Do whatever you want with it." She closed her fingers around the USB drive and got out of the car. I watched her walk toward the apartment building, shoulders straight, despite everything that had happened. At the entrance, she turned back. "Nate, yeah. Were we ever happy? Really happy?" I considered the question, thought about the early years, the laughter, the plans we'd made together. "I was," I said finally. She nodded once and disappeared into the building. I sat in the parking lot for several minutes after she was gone, engine idling, heater running. The rain had stopped completely, leaving the world washed clean and gleaming under the streetlights. The passenger seat held another USB drive identical to the one I'd just given Serena, but containing the real files, the complete archive of her betrayal, Troy's manipulation, her friend's casual cruelty. Everything documented, time-stamped, legally obtained. I didn't need it anymore, but I kept it anyway. Not for revenge, that was finished. For remembering. For the next time someone tried to make me feel small. My phone buzzed with a text from Jace. "Beer tomorrow." I typed back, "Sure, I'm buying." Another text, this one from an unknown number. "Driver available? Need pickup at 10 p.m. Business as usual." The city was full of people who needed rides, who needed someone reliable behind the wheel, someone they could trust to get them where they were going safely. I pulled out of the parking lot and onto the main road. The streets were slick but manageable, the storm having passed through like a cleansing wave.
In the rearview mirror, Serena's apartment building grew smaller until it disappeared entirely. I drove toward downtown, radio off, focused on the road ahead. Somewhere in the city, someone needed a driver. Someone who would listen without judgment, who would take them exactly where they asked to go. No detours, no ulterior motives, just professional service from someone who understood the value of being reliable.
The engine note was steady, confident, carrying me forward into whatever came next.